The story of Carlos Vasquez is one of resilience, challenges, and triumph. It is a saga that begins with many disadvantages, in which poverty, discrimination, and vision impairment were overcome with a fiery determination to fulfill a promise to his mother.
As a little boy, I remember the breeze in the mornings, waking up, seeing the sun rise, watching the trees, that natural green color that they give out. And also, when I got a chance to be in one of my top games in my soccer games and scoring that goal from a midfield. Memories I'll never forget. I was born in a small town in Guatemala called San Francisco El Alto. It was the southern part of Guatemala. It's, a small village. I was born in 1986. I'm the last person in the family. Out of a total of 7 children, they were dealing with poverty. Pretty much everyone was, because of the civil war going on at that time. They had just the basic resources, water. We actually had a field with corn, so we had that. I came basically from a very poor family. When I was born, I was diagnosed with cataracts.
Very early in life, his mother, Fermina, noticed there was something wrong with the child's eyesight.
Pues nadie me creía tampoco de que él no miraba, hasta que un día mi mamá fue a ver y me dijo, es cierto que no mira, y le dijo, mami, mira como le dije que pusiera la mano sobre enfrente de él, y él bien fijo tenía los ojos. Entonces fue cuando empecé yo a buscar un médico.
Despite the sad news, his mother Fermina would not give up. She began to look for solutions. If there was something she could do to save her child, she would do it.
En realidad no tenía nada cuando empecé a buscar y fui al médico que me recomendaron, que era un buen médico, y pues en este momento no me acuerdo cuánto era la cantidad del dinero, y pues la única solución que yo tenía era de prestarle a mi papá, porque mi papá sí tenía dinero. Pero durante los 4 años que tenía que regresar Carlos para la segunda operación, yo no tenía ese dinero. Y mi papá pues empezó a exigirme el dinero.
Fermina was now facing a predicament. Time was passing by fast. The 5 years Carlos had to have a second operation was fast approaching. She owed her father, and there was very little else she could do in town to help her son.
Que tenía que pagarle, que ya pasaron los tiempos. Y pues la verdad, como no tuve apoyo del papá de ellos, entonces yo tenía que verlo cómo pagar ese dinero. Y sobre todo la presión de mi papá, que quería el dinero. Entonces, y como supe que pues según esos decían la gente que aquí en los Estados Unidos pues se ganaba fácilmente el dinero, y pues dije, la única solución es irme a los Estados Unidos para que mi hijo lo vuelva a operar. Y sobre todo pues vivíamos en una pobreza tan mal, y pues eso también me hizo decir, pues mis hijos también están sufriendo, y luego el otro que necesitaba la cirugía para que tenga los 4 años.
Meanwhile, his mother made the inevitable decision to head north to America.
I interpreted it as she abandoned us or whatever, but it was because there was no other way, and she wanted to help her kids no matter what the consequences, no matter what, even if she had to put her life on the line, which technically that's what she did.
The trip to America proved to be difficult for Fermina. After 3 attempts to cross illegally, she was apprehended and sent to prison, where she remained for several months.
Llegué a los Estados Unidos, pero lamentablemente caí en manos de migración.
So it was just mostly all of the kids left. Like my bigger sister was the one who basically took care of all of the kids. At that point though, I was already 8. So, and if you notice, I mentioned that I was supposed to get a surgery at the age of 5. However, since the whole circumstances of my mom leaving, I never got it. My second year started. That was when everything just started falling apart. My vision just started deteriorating little by little. I started having problems, such as like I would have to sit near the board. Sometimes it would look so blurry. I would just see lines, not letters, so I would get closer and things would be better. My coach actually cried when he had to let me go of the team, because he was like, "You're an amazing player and you're really young, and I hate for this to happen to you." My teacher as well told me, "I don't know how to deal with this, but I don't care if you just sit in the classroom and just listen to me talk, and I'm sure you can learn by that." She always wanted to keep me in class. However, the principal found out that I was losing my sight. He did not hesitate one bit, called my dad to come back to San Francisco because we needed to have a meeting. Told him that I was going to be removed from the school because they had no services for the blind.
Carlos refused to accept his blindness and began to rebel.
They told me not to ride bikes. I would do it anyway. They told me not to play soccer. I would do it anyway. And they told me not to go out on the streets because I could get run over. Oh well, I did it anyway. It was kind of like I was calling for help, but since we grew up in the culture where they tell you that you pretty much you have to suck it up. It got to the point where it was so blurry that I would run into stuff. That's when my sister and my brothers noticed, like, yeah, something's really wrong. And so my mom from the US found out that I was actually losing my sight.
Fermina was becoming increasingly concerned with Carlos' progressive blindness, but she stayed in touch from afar.
Como siempre, la preocupación, tuve la dicha de llegar en una casa de un médico. Entonces, como siempre, lo pasaba llorando, y un día la señora me encontró llorando y me dijo que era lo que pasaba, y le dije de que mi hijo, me informaron que mi hijo está perdiendo la vista y que dice que se tropezaba en las cosas y que mi hijo se está empeorando, y yo sin poder hacer nada.
Sometimes like I'll wake up and I can't see anything, I will blink and it will go away. Now this is when actually happened overnight, because I woke up the next day, I opened my eyes and I blinked expecting for it to go away, but it didn't. I pretty much figured out I lost it. I lost my sight. And after that, right away, my mom decided, you know what? It's the only way we're gonna have to bring you guys in illegally.
Entonces, cuando empecé a buscar, dije, pues la única solución, traerlo como yo me vine. Y busqué y encontré la persona que lo traía, pero lamentablemente me engañó también.
The trip to come to the United States was supposed to be a nice trip, buses, airplanes. It was supposed to be a smooth ride, whatever. It was a nightmare for several reasons.
Me dijo que iba a venir con una visa legal y que iba a pasar legalmente, que no iba a cruzar ríos.
At the time when we came, I was 10 or 11, I think, can't remember. He was 13 and she was 16 or 17. So just all three of us, we were taken in whatever. So all of us, we had to figure this all out by ourselves. And keep in mind, at this point, I'm already kind of pretty much blind. And so it was up to them.
The 3 children were now in the hands of a criminal enterprise. Although they had promised the mother to bring the children across safely, they had indeed embarked on a journey that turned into a 2-week nightmare.
Yo sé que solo la mano de Dios fue el quien los ayudó, porque Yo de día, de noche me arrodillaba, le pedía a Dios que me ayudara.
These were tense moments. The children were transported under dangerous circumstances from Guatemala to Mexico City and on to the U.S. border.
Now, here's the bad part. They promised us that we're gonna cross safely across the bridge. Either that, or we're gonna have to wait, and if we're gonna have to take a plane. And then they told us that it was time. It turns out that it was all a lie.
The coyotes kept the three children confused and ill-informed. They were constantly moved from place to place.
Literally, as soon as we were about to get into the river, we hear gunshots. So the gunshots came from above. I heard one, it was probably like to my right, and then one on the left. But I think they fired in the air to kind of like catch our attention. As soon as that happened, these guys, they left us behind. They just took off.
3 children. Carlos was 10, Alex was 13, and Elva was 17, who were left on the hands with criminals who abandoned them in the middle of Mexico and then in the woods in a very dangerous environment.
Here we were in the middle of nowhere, and like near a river, where basically we're now deep into like it was kind of like a forest, I would say, because there was trees everywhere, bushes. So we did the only thing we could think of, which was to go into the trees, hide on the bushes, and just lay there motionless. Maybe like not long after, we hear this group passing by us. Like we hear footsteps on the leaves, on the grass, and then we hear people talking in Spanish. As soon as we heard that, we all like jumped out. And one of the guys who was crossing these other group of people saw me. Hey, is that like the kid who's blind? And so he didn't hesitate. It's clear right now. The current is kind of strong though, so everybody hold hands. One of the guys put me on his shoulders, and he told me, he's like, we're gonna cross you. He started encouraging me. We're gonna do this. Like I got your brother right here next to me, and your sister with somebody right on the other side. But the currents were so strong that the guy could barely keep up with me on his shoulders. Like he was kind of slipping, and he almost fell into the water. And the water was pretty deep. My brother didn't know how to swim. My sister didn't know how to swim either. My brother was like sort of being dragged by the current little by little. So my brother tried the best he could. He managed, and we made it. We were now in Texas. It was a train station. The only way we could cross this was by going underneath the trains, because as soon as we reached ground, we started hearing a helicopter. And but we're still cautious. We're walking very slowly, going into the bushes. Try to be as fast as you can, because some of these trains are gonna start moving soon. We went underneath the train. Right before we crossed the last train, as soon as we're about to cross it, the engine was going on that one, so it was like, oh, should we wait or should we cross it? But the helicopter was, hovering, like looking around, going in circles. We decided we should cross it. A lot of people were gone. My brother was passed, my sister passed by. It was me left with this lady. We were underneath that train, and that thing started moving. And I fell, and the lady fell, and we were still underneath the train. Like, until I reached down, I just stretched, grabbed whatever I could get off hold of her while she was walking. I was kind of dragged a little, but then I managed to get my feet on the floor, and I like ran for it. And if I didn't do that wrong enough, my legs would have been gone.
One has to reflect on the impact all of this is having on a 10-year-old who cannot see but can hear all the horror that's going on around him.
Carlos' mother has not slept or eaten a decent meal for days, worried that her children had met with disaster.
No recuerdo si fueron 5 días o 6 días que no supe nada de ellos, porque había prometido el hombre traerlos en 3 días. Cuando pasaron esos días, para mí que algo había pasado con ellos.
And right there, we crossed all of the trains, and thankfully there was a taxi that was arranged for us to be there. And we crossed the trains. He saw we had our luggage and everything. Like, he ran out, he started yelling at us like, you need to run, get over here soon or I'm gonna leave. It was actually our first Greyhound ever that we took, and there was gonna be a checkpoint. However, during that checkpoint, all of us were asleep. No immigration agent checked up on us. They just passed us by because we were sleeping. And next thing you know, I awoke and I was in Houston, Texas.
The 3 hungry and frightened children had made the journey from Guatemala to Houston under horrific conditions.
Yo salía de mi trabajo tan desesperada que nomás terminando yo corría a la casa, sentada al teléfono, esperando la llamada. Y sí recuerdo que ese día entró una llamada y la persona me dijo, ¿usted es la señora Fermina? Y le dije, sí, su hija está aquí y quiere hablar con usted. Fue cuando supe que mis hijos, a pesar de que fueron abandonados, llegaron aquí en Houston.
When we arrived, the first thing my mom noticed, obviously, she noticed that I was holding on to somebody to kind of walk around at that time.
Yo no podía aceptarlo. Al principio, al ver, dije, no puedo creer y no puedo aceptar que mi hijo queda ciego.
Under incredible circumstances, Fermina had fulfilled her initial desire to bring her son Carlos to America. With the help of her employer, she now had access to the best medical services. It would be the definitive examination for Carlos, and one they had been looking forward to for a very long time.
Cuando la doctora le informó a Carlos de que ya no había esperanzas para él, que definitivamente había perdido la vista. Y Carlos en ese momento, cuando la doctora le informó, empezó a pegar gritos, quiso agarrar las cosas de los que estaban ahí, aventarlo. Sí, al salir de ahí, la doctora me pidió que no siguiera llorando y que tenía que darle fuerza a él. Y pues yo por dentro lloraba. Yo salí llorando. Recuerdo que nada más limpiaba las lágrimas, pero en silencio.
We left the building. Obviously my mom was in tears, but she was really trying to hide it.
Y al bajar del elevador, al llegar al parqueo, me agarró y me puso enfrente y me dijo, yo sé que no la puedo ver, me dijo, aunque recuerdo su rostro. Me tocó la mejilla y me dijo, mírame los ojos, mírame, me dijo. Prométeme que usted ya no va a llorar. Y yo no podía prometerle en ese momento porque no. Yo quería gritar, no sé qué era lo que quería hacer en ese momento. Y me agarró bien duro el hombro y me dijo, prométemelo, quiero que me promete, me dijo. Entonces le dije, mi hijo, no te puedo prometer, pero voy a tratar la forma de no llorar, le dije. Y me dijo, yo sí le prometo algo, me dijo. Yo sí le prometo algo, que algún día, me dijo, voy a ser profesional.
It was not your fault. Things happened. All we have to do, is just to get used to it and find new ways to adapt to it. And rather than complaining and rather than just focusing on grieving, I told her, I'm gonna start. If I get in school, accepted in school, I'm gonna prove these people that I can do, like I can be in the same level and probably better than anybody has imagined.
Carlos quickly put into practice the promise he had made to his mother, first by enrolling in school. Although he had only gone to school in Guatemala, he surprised everyone when he learned English and caught up with his classmates in only 7 months.
Carlos VASQUEZ. I remember meeting Carlos a number of years ago. He was newly in this country. I remember him telling me that his mother tried to get him here because the health care in his previous country wasn't such that it would help him to be able to overcome his visual problem, which was getting worse.
It had been a long and arduous journey for Carlos, but on that devastating moment, when he was told he would never be able to see again, a dramatic change suddenly occurred. It was as if he had regained a new vision, one much more revealing than before. To the surprise of many and the delight of his mother and family, Carlos seemed to have embarked on a new journey, this time on a journey of accomplishments.
If I could create a person who would work perfectly well with the rehabilitation counseling process, that would be Carlos. He wasn't interested in getting over his blindness. He wasn't interested in being able to see again. Carlos was interested in becoming all that he could become, despite the fact that he was blind.
No sabía yo, hasta incluso yo dije de dónde salió ese talento que tiene, que toca música y instrumentos.
I saw him playing the guitar for the first time, and I thought it was awesome, you know. So I got inspired from that. I started playing, you know, I picked it up myself. You know, I don't have that innate ability to play music like that, but, you know, I worked it little by little, you know.
But this is because I was the best drummer of 2005-2006. So that's why I'm proud of this one.
Carlos refused to give up several hobbies he had when he could see. One of them was playing video games.
This guy is not just fighting at any level, he's fighting at a Muhammad Ali level or Mike Tyson. Basically blind. This is what this kid is doing in the video game. He's fighting a game that requires nothing but visuals, or mostly visuals, and is beating people. He's actually beating people that compete at a professional level, and that's pretty amazing. For him to play competitively brings the attention to, you know, the big name companies like NetherRealm, and the creator Ed Boon. He actually met with him, and they were able to talk about how he interacts with the game, and the developers themselves went back and changed the game and added features that he can tune into, so that for a company to go in and make these changes in the gaming industry, as far as anybody else that wants to just be part of it.
And that's the type of person that works very well. He accepted the fact that he had this disability. He embraced the idea that his life would not involve him being able to see light again. But Carlos's vision is 360. You know, we see with our eyes, and our eyes are pointed in front of us. We can't see what's behind us. But Carlos, in the way that he uses his other senses, he has 360 vision, if you will.
The case of Carlos, the first thing that it reminds me of is some very interesting research with happy people. The people that report to be very happy, imagine two circles, a small circle and a big circle, which the small circle represents the internal and the large circle represents the external world. So in the case of Carlos, what he has chosen to focus on, just like happy people do, is to focus on their internal world, focus on everything that's in control within themselves. People that focus on their outer world, their external world, focus on politics, being in control of their world or affecting their world, or they'll say the big companies just don't let the little man get ahead. And so what's astonishing to me is the ability to really focus on what's in his control and take that decision to move forward and make the best of his situation. So what we can learn from Carlos's situation is just turn it into a decision. What is it that you want to do with what your circumstance is, so that you can move ahead in your life?
One of the major goals that I set myself with, now that I am where I am now, is to one day establish something back in Guatemala, which is where I came from. As it is known, you know, the poverty levels in that country are very high. You know, distribution is not equal, and not only that, but to me personally, people with disabilities are still treated as, you know, second-class citizens.